Host this up, I think. None2K and Voice of Freedom we will see. I hurt my knee somehow, which twisted it, and I'm just rethinking walking down that slope down there to get down there when I can walk happily here on the flat. So I might do that. I'm grounding, don't know if you can see, but get out, get your feet into the earth, folks. It's the best thing you can do. Malcolm Roberts is going to Hell for Leather at the moment. That's great. I've got some pieces that I'll drag out from one of his Senate estimates question sessions. I've got to say, the CSIRO, for blokes that get paid over $1 million and just under $1 million a year, the two fellas he was talking to the other day, trying to get answers out of the other day, my God, they are evasive, and that's why they get the big money. They can never answer a question, at least not straight. So Malcolm Roberts, kudos. Doing really, really well. Haven't had the opportunity to speak since the rally for, well, the nation really, that happened on Saturday. I've been in an area with really poor reception, so it's made it very hard. Unfortunately, I don't know, everything that's happening in the rest of the world has probably overshadowed things a bit, but I did jump into the live stream for a little bit. I was not really able to keep a good connection, which was a problem. But the numbers there, while great, were eclipsed by the Palestinian protest that came on directly afterwards, where there were thousands upon thousands of people. How is it we can get thousands of people to rally for another country, but we can't get our own people to stand up? What's the problem? So, I don't know. I'm a bit confused by that. There's some thinking about and some analysis. There has to be a reason for it. So, not enough people know, not enough people motivated. Have we got tens of thousands of Palestinians in this country, or Palestinian sympathisers? Bear in mind that during the Rudd Gillard crud years, they managed to import over 50,000 fighting and boys, at least the boys that survived. The young boys that came across, quite a lot of them didn't survive. Quite a lot of them wound up in the bottom of the Coral Sea, or whatever that bit of water around between Indonesia and Australia down the west coast is called, before you get to Port Hedland or Christmas Island. And those boys in most cases were just bought for entertainment. And that's the really sad thing about it all. When they were used up, they were thrown overboard. So, or if an Australian warship came over to see who they were, what they were doing, they got thrown overboard. Very sad, very sad. There's a lot of other interesting stuff coming out at the moment, particularly surrounding Biden. So I'm not going to say he's been arrested. I'm not going to say he's quit. I'm not going to say he's going to quit. I'm just going to say there is a lot of really interesting stuff coming out. And Ingersoll Lockwood have come back to life with quite a number of hidden videos on their website. You've got to click period, like full stops in certain pages to gain access. I will try and get a few of those together and show you over the next day or two. I'm heading over that way tonight and catching up with some family tomorrow. Tomorrow being Melbourne Cup Day. In Victoria it's a public holiday, so I'm having breakfast with some family tomorrow. Be good to catch up with them again, and then head back toward Melbourne. I'm not sure whether I'll be in the western suburbs. I'm going to be in the western suburbs at some stage for a fair while, because there's a fella coming to help me look at the truck, or at least the engine on the vehicle, and we might be able to get that LPG up and going again. I got the bill the other day. Oh, Anyway, that's another story for another day. It's too good a day to bitch and moan, and I ain't doing it. It's beautiful out here, so get out, get your toes into the ground, folks. Get a bit of grounding happening. It is the best thing you can possibly do. And if you happen to be lucky enough to be near a beach like this, then please take advantage of it. I'm not going to take advantage of the swimming part of the beach. I mean, have you seen some of those people out there? I mean, let's be serious. I mean, can you see them? They're bloody mad. However, they must be hardy Western Victorians, and I used to be one of those hardy Western Victorians once. Now I'm just a bloody freezing Queenslander. So I'm heading back to the bus. There will be a show at some stage tonight. I'll try and get this one uploaded so folks can see that there's something happening, and we'll talk to you soon. Well, there you go. Didn't actually get it uploaded early, but did manage to get it played, so it took me a little while. Yes, in Port Fairy tonight, a beautiful little part of southwestern Victoria where the wind comes straight from Antarctica. It was absolutely stunning day, though. A bit of cloud around, but some blue sky for the most part of it. I've been staying with some friends for the last few days, and they've had some really shaky reception. I know people are going to say, you got Starlink, Carl. Yes, I do. Starlink is actually down in my trailer, and I've had a bit of an issue with one of the locks on the trailer in that it doesn't want to unlock anymore. And rather than drill the whole thing out, I'm waiting to get a little more physical with it in a place where I can spend some time and actually fix it if I do have to drill it out. So hopefully that won't be the case. But yeah, Starlink will be put into full action in the not too distant future. And that's why we've probably got a shaky signal tonight. So I apologize. It's running off my mobile phone, which is over behind me. It's plugged in. It's getting as much signal as it can. And there's usually, I would have thought there was full bars here before when I pulled up. So unless it is that busy time. So yeah, my apologies for that. Yeah, as I said, a lot of interesting things going on at the moment in the world, and that big rally that happened on Saturday, and I'm not referring to the one that Ricardo and Guru got involved with or put on. I'm talking to about the Palestinian one that happened after it. Well, do you know what happened on Sunday at one of the mosques in Sydney? Have a look.
There is no way for an elevation of this ummah but the jihad. If the Australian government like it or not, if the ASIO likes it or not, if they want to deport me from Australia or not, the jihad is the solution for the ummah.
Seriously, jihad is the solution. Now, that happened in a Sydney mosque yesterday. That imam is named and is freely able to continue spreading that sort of hatred in the mosques. Now, whether that came out yesterday or was actually recorded Friday and it only got out yesterday, I don't know. But, yeah. Do you want to have another look at it? Because I think it bears looking at a couple of times just between you, me, and the gatepost. Have a look.
There is no way for an elevation of this ummah but the jihad. If the Australian government like it or not, if the ASIO likes it or not, if they want to deport me from Australia or not, the jihad is the solution for the ummah.
So if the Australian government wanted to deport him, if ASIO wanted to deport him, doesn't matter. Jihad is the solution. So I'm wondering what ASIO are thinking about that. I'm wondering what our federal government, Australian Federal Police, are thinking about that. I'm wondering if that bloke has actually been locked up. I've been driving, so I haven't seen any news. Hopefully, fingers crossed, they will be at least having a bit of a word to him. Although if it's anything like a word from the Queensland coppers and the government pushing things up there, God knows, not too much is going to happen. Well, other than if you're in need of a prostitute services, you're going to be able to do really, really well. They are planning on putting up a new bill, Protect Your Neighbourhood. So if you see one of these floating around, try and click on the what are they called? QR code there, if you happen to be in Queensland, because this relates to a new bill they're putting through, which will essentially decriminalise prostitution. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but what they are doing is allowing it in just about anywhere, anytime. Now, there are, prostitution is decriminalised in certain parts, I think, of Queensland, or maybe it's not. Maybe it was and that's changed. I don't know. It used to be highly illegal, but because there were a few crook coppers wandering around and a few crook government ministers wandering around during the 70s and the 80s. Yeah, you, we up here, you in Queensland, chook feeding. That's you have a peanut. There was a bit of crookness going on there, and a bit of bag handling, and a bit of money changing hands, and a bit of blind eyeing going on. So prostitution is the oldest profession in the world and will work anywhere. And now in Queensland, it seems anywhere is quite possible. Some of the legalised brothels had to set up in industrial areas. I think the laws were before that. Advertising restrictions, all sorts of hampering by government to stop promotion of the business and the services offered there within. Well, apparently the Queensland government under Fuckaduck has had a complete change of mind, gone 100% in the other direction, or is that 180 degrees, I suppose. So they're now planning to allow sex services anywhere. That means that if you happen to own a house that you rent out to a couple of girls who seem nice enough, but they turn it into a brothel and run a business out of it and happen to live there as well, or live in one room and work out of the three others, or however it might work, you as the owner of the place have absolutely no say in whether that's good, bad, or indifferent. I don't know what your property manager is going to say through the whole rental thing. However, property managers would be very, very, very careful under the anti-discrimination laws, given that the freedoms that are going to be allowed under what is being proposed by Plucker and friends is essentially an orgy in every street, anywhere you like. If it's beside a school, so what? If it's beside a daycare centre, so what? So if you're in Queensland, you might want to seek out more information on that. I'm not here at the moment. I only just saw that one not long before we came on air. So have a bit of a look around and see if you can find out more information. I'll certainly be trying to look a bit deeper into that and find out more of what is going on there. It is rather unpleasant. Just have a bit of a glance down and see what videos I've got loaded. Oh, speaking of Queensland government, here is what I assume to be some git from the government health department.
I'm so pleased to announce that we will be making flu vaccines free in Queensland in 2024. With cost of living a real barrier, we need to do everything we can to get people vaccinated. We need to do everything we can to get people vaccinated.
Ain't that the truth? Please, anyway, if we missed you the first time, we're coming the second. Jibbity, 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 jab. No way. That's my advice to you. Stay the hell away. If they're offering it for free, they're taking something from you over here. You know, they offer something here, they take it from over here. That's how the bastards do it. So if you've got friends and family who think, oh, gee, that's a great idea, then no, it's not. Stay away, because, you know, we know what the government's like after all. They have certain ways and means of trying to help us. And a lot of us are very thankful for the way that the government likes to help us. There is a name for those sorts of people. There are certain clubs in Sydney, I think, where if you go into a men's urinal, you can find them lying in the trough. Just saying. Seems to be a lot of those sorts of people without the GIMP mask wandering Australian streets. Just saying, you know. There've been some good things thrown around. Remember that one? Well, I think that our Australian government has got a bit more to answer for than that, because Albo has gone over to America, and he and whatever robot or actor is playing that other fella this week or last week, had a meeting. And what did they manage to do? They managed to sign a bilateral agreement. Yay! you can just hear that's going to cost us money, isn't it? Well, it's not just going to cost us money. It's going to cost us 30% of our land. How, I hear you ask? Well, they've signed us up for something under the UN, under the UNDRIP proposal, for something called 30-30 or 30 by 30. Now, somewhere along the lines in this 30 by 30 plan, 30% of our country and any other country that signs up to this piece of shit coming out of the UN, and Albo probably only read the executive summary, a bit like the Voice argument. Oh, you didn't need to read the whole lot, just read the executive summary. So he and his special team of advisors who've gone over have signed us up to this bilateral agreement committing us and the United States to the 30-30 plan put out by the UN. Natural Capital Accounting is how they're going to hide this from us, folks. And hats off to Maria Z. I think she broke this news, if not here in Australia, around the world, because America is now wide awake to that. You may have seen her piece on the Stupidest Show. I've sent her a message asking her if she can find a bit of time, maybe this week or next, to come on and have a bit of a chat. This is something we cannot let go. It is very important, maybe not as important as getting us out of the WHO agreement. Make sure that you've got a hold of your local member. And I don't mean, gentlemen, the one closest to you. I'm meaning that other dick that is masquerading as your representative in our House of Parliament or in the Senate. Then make sure you've sent them an email expressing your extreme displeasure at the fact that we are going to be signed up to this WHO agreement where they can take over our health system under the guise of a pandemic anytime they can like. Make sure that you tell your local member that that is not on, right? Make it loud. Send many, many emails. Tell all your friends about it. We have 30 days thereabouts to make this happen. It's I want to say it's the 23rd of December. They're going to try and sneak this through. It's in December at some stage. So we need to make this happen and copy Malcolm Roberts in on every one of them. I think he's malcolm.roberts at .gov.au. Let me find that out. Senator.roberts, I think. I'll find that out. But we will make sure that he knows that there are many, many Australians, and the majority of us, I am sure, who, if we were given the opportunity, like we were to sign the rights away of our Indigenous folks a few weeks ago, if we were given the right to say, well, hang on, do you want to be signed up to this WHO piece of bullshit or not, then the result would be a resounding 90+% no return, I'm sure. Although there are quite a few bureaucrats who want to keep their jobs, aren't they? They utter bastards. I spoke in that recorded piece about Malcolm Roberts and his interrogation of a couple of CSIRO flunkies. Now, one of them, the head of the CSIRO, and I do have those videos, I just haven't had time to cut them down. This guy gets paid $1,049,000 a year. $1,049,000 a year, which is neat because $49,000 a year is the average median income for an Australian household. Isn't that nice? So he gets paid exactly $1 million a year more. And then his cohort, who came across to try and explain, well, try not to explain some of the answers to the questions that Roberts was asking, gets paid, I think, in the vicinity of $600,000 to $900,000. Now, these two bastards get paid that much money because they don't answer questions. And they do it in a way that is hitherto been accepted by politicians. But it looks like Malcolm Roberts and it looks like Matt Canavan might be starting to dig a little deeper. They're saying that answers to many of these questions had already been provided in documents that happen in private briefings and the committee already had those. It meant they didn't have to say them on air in front of the people in an open committee setting. These people, I don't know how they can show their face in public. I really don't. If you know either of these two people or any of the higher ups inside the CSIRO, everybody there seems to be on a minimum of $200,000 a year, maybe 150, but a minimum of that. And they got a lot of people working for them. And of course, they're at the forefront of making sure that Australians have been safe during COVID. Oh, sorry. I got the timing wrong. yeah, I want to see more from these bastards. I want to see them actually brought back and asked more questions and see them dodge again. I want Malcolm Roberts to hold their feet to the flame. And I want Matt Canavan to back him up. I would like Senator Rennick to get in there and do it as well. They cannot be allowed to get away with the bullshit they are doing. The people are people, I know we're seeing it, and you will see it. If you haven't seen it yet, I'll get it all cut together so you can see it. But it's not being shown on mainstream media. But are your friends seeing it? Are you sharing this sort of stuff? Because if you aren't, get on Telegram. That's where a lot of it is to be found. Although Malcolm Roberts posts most of his good stuff up on Facebook. I know a lot of people who watch this show don't participate in Facebook, but sometimes it's worth having a bit of a look at. John, thank you very much for your comment. Just to float back to what ASIO have been busy doing after our Imam has been calling out for jihad here in Australia. Yeah, you could be right. Domestic Christian terrorists. And if it's anything like what's going on in America at the moment, they're cracking down on the bikies. Why? Well, because the bikies are more apt to stand up with the people and probably be a lot better trained than many of the people. And so now American police teams, I'm not going to call them police squads, barely want to call them police. But anyway, they're running through and playing havoc with many bike clubs across America at the moment. So, not very good at all. Vince is saying, don't forget a like would be good. All right, folks. Whatever channel you happen to be on, and I think we're only running on 3 or 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 we're running on. I believe None2K and Voice of Freedom should come back in the next 24 to 48 hours, unless YouTube find another reason to throw a strike up, and they might if I mention that jibbity-jabbity thing that they hate me talking about so much. But luckily, I'm pretty confident the algorithms haven't figured out to read too badly yet, but you never know. I do have another one I could show you. This is something, for those of us that get bored and lonely on a cold southwestern Victorian day, you can actually go and look this one up, copy that number down, take a screenshot, do whatever, go and check it out. Interesting to find out what sort of patterns are available for what sort of mind-altering 5G technology is available in the world. It's rather unflattering, can I just say. I have a couple of other things I was going to show you, but I don't think they've loaded up for some reason. So that's a bit of a pain in the ass. All right. One of them was a quote from the new Speaker of the House in America. His name is Johnson. Now, he was pretty vocal in the lead up to Trump's demise as president, and he's been very vocal through the period where he was, I think, elected back in to power. And of course, after McCarthy, who was only sitting in the Speaker's chair because of a deal done with Matt Gaetz, and that deal was hand in hand done with Trump at the other end. And the reason it took 17 votes of the House to select a new House Speaker was because at the time McCarthy wasn't going to do what the Republicans wanted. He was going to do what the rhinos wanted. So he was effectively hamstrung and put over a barrel and said, you will not be elected unless you pass these measures and support this, and this, and you do not support that, or that. He eventually agreed at pass number 17, try number 17, and became Speaker. Then, while Speaker, he made a number of attempts to go back on the deal, and in one of those attempts was to put a go slow on Blaze TV's request for the same 40,000 hours of vision that Tucker Carlson got while he was at Fox. So McCarthy put a big go slow on that. Ordinarily, it wouldn't be a problem. But McCarthy was making that go slow. That was one of the big things. Then there were a couple of other, particularly to do with the latest debt crisis that the US are going through. And McCarthy wanted to look after the central banks. And of course, he wasn't allowed to do that. And when he went and did it anyway, they threw him out. That's how this bloke Johnson got into the chair. Now, he is going to stand by what he said, getting him into that chair. And a lot of information is now starting to be released, including the fast tracking of that 40,000 hours of television from January 6, 2022, where supposedly the people rioted and tore apart that building in Washington, D.C. that isn't the White House. Did you happen to see the White House being torn apart by a whole group of other people in the last 24 hours? Didn't get torn apart. I'm exaggerating, but there were quite a number. And when I say quite a number, I'm talking like thousands of people surrounding the White House, or at least that's what they would have you believe. But at any rate, in the vision, there was quite a few of them, maybe 20 or 30, pushing up against the fencing and the gates at the White House and yelling abuse at Secret Service. Now, I do think that there was a couple of thousand people there. I don't think they ringed the White House, but they were very vocal and they were, pushing down on the gates, pushing. They weren't trying to push them down. They were just more like trying to rattle them with some vigor. But the fact of the matter is, Secret Service and those protecting the White House really did nothing. I guess if the fences had gone down, I wonder what they would have done. Was Biden even on the premises by then? Hadn't they snuck a helicopter in the back and plugged his recharger into, set him on to walk and put him out and put him in and flown him away somewhere? That's generally the plan if things start getting a bit hot. But no, they weren't turned away at all. Those protesters weren't shut down. So not very flash at all. Free flu jabs in Queensland and, not a free sexual experience, but certainly a frequent one if you're lucky enough to get one of them open up next door to you. What would that do for housing property prices in your street if one or two of the rentals in your street were turned into brothels all of a sudden? Cost of education, it's only going to go up, although there was a bit of a win recently. If you've got a HEX debt from the last, I think, 2007 going forward, might even be longer than that. If you have a HEX debt, go and check it. You might find it's been forgiven, or a very large part of the interests and other charges that have been laid on you over the years have been forgiven. If that has happened to you, if you've got a HEX debt that's been cleared or substantially reduced, I'm very keen to hear about it. There was a case that was heard and won in Victoria, I want to say, but it affects HEX debt everywhere, where it was proved that these taxes and charges were placed unlawfully upon you and probably without your knowledge. And it's designed really to keep you in debt for the longest possible time. So, or to keep just something hanging over your head, because I know of people who've developed a HEX debt in their 20s, and it's not until in their 50s that somebody comes a knocking on the door or somebody sends an accountant's note that says, we want to talk to you. Usually just after you happen to have become a bit successful. By that time, you've racked up an interest debt of hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they're going to take every chunk of it they can get out of you. So that has been taken to court, and it's been proved that is not going to happen. So a lot of those sorts of debts have been wiped. If you've got a HEX debt, or somebody who has, get them to go and check it. You could find that that's going to be a much welcomed early Christmas present with a little bit of luck. Yep, there are brothels, Paul, in Sydney that have been there for over 40 years. Couldn't agree more with you. I think there've been brothels in Sydney for like close to 224 years, I would say. I don't think they came over with the first fleet, but they came over shortly thereafter. I want to say that the first boats that arrived here in Australia, as part of that, had 1,200 convicts on them, but they were all men and boys. There was another boat that arrived some months later that had 800 women on it. And, well, some of those women, obviously, after they did their time, married off into various different, I guess, statures of life. Once you'd done your time, you could go anywhere you wanted, be whoever you wanted, I suppose. So if you could get over the Blue Mountains, who knows what you could become. But a lot of them did turn into madams, just between you, me, and the gatepost. In fact, if you go back to the 20s, there was a very, was it the 20s? Yeah, I want to say it was the 20s. There was a couple of very serious madams in Sydney, and there might have been an Underbelly show about them. Squizzy might have been about that, when Squizzy Taylor was going to move out of Melbourne and get into Sydney, or move out of Sydney and get into Melbourne. Anyway, it's been a while. Hello, Dusty. Hope you are going all right. Life goes well. I've had some interesting, and I will post these videos. I'm sort of struggling with them a little bit. Where do I start with this? Have an opportunity to get a sponsor for the program. And I was pretty excited to hear that news. I want to make sure that if we're going to be selling things, that we're not selling, shitty things, or we're not selling rubbish, or more to the point, we're not selling snake oil. So I've been doing a little bit of research in the background with one of the products, or in fact, the product that this company is suggesting they would like to sponsor us with. And I've got to say, I am pretty amazed at the results that it's getting. Where I've been staying for the last few days, the lady of the house has been in pain for 33 years. She damaged her back in her early 30s, and it was a very serious back injury to do with a disc. In fact, exploded the disc. There were 3 hernias. There were a couple of other invasions of her body with scalpels and all that kind of thing. So today she is in pain 24/7 and has been using opioids to ease that pain level. Now, she's been trying to ease her way off those for a little while, and she's gone from the immediate or fast-acting ones to the slow-release ones, and now she's, changing that too. I'm not going to tell you about the product yet, but I'm just going to tell you that you might hear me eventually start talking about this. And if that is the case, it is only because I'm going to get more stories like the one I can't show you right now, but I will show you, of Carol's. Now, we applied the appropriate bits and pieces onto Carol's neck, about her C7. And we did that Saturday morning at about 9:45. And an hour and a half later, she was yelling that she had no pain. For the first time in 33 years, no pain in her neck and shoulders. She was quite surprised about that, so was I, if I'm honest. And considering that she's had a lot of work done. We moved that patch down to her lower back where there is a lot of more work has been done, and she has, and I've got pictures of the scars I'll show you. She's had amazingly graphic surgery done on her spine, and consequently has been in pain for 33 years, sleeping 3 hours a night max, maybe having to wake up, pop a couple of those opioid pills, wait for them to take effect and drop back to sleep again. And whatnot. So that was Saturday. Sunday, for the most part, she lost the. There was another thing we had to apply 12 hours later, and we lost it. Well, we found it again by the afternoon. She put that on last night on her lower back, and this morning, while she did wake up, it was for a pee. She swung her legs out of bed for the first time in 33 years. Swung her legs out of bed, walked over, had a pee, walked back in, swung her legs back into bed. With no pain. She didn't have to lie down and roll over to get her feet and legs back up into the bed or anything like that. And then a little later on, after we'd all woken up and walked around a bit, she started dancing, wiggling her hips, like swinging her hips, like dancing. She said, the only time I've ever been able to do that is if I've had a few drinks in the last 33 years. And this was 10 o'clock this morning, and she could not believe it. Unbelievable. No pain, no nothing, everything working beautifully. Quite a nice sensation in her back, and life-changing. She has had one pill, and that was at 1 or 2 o'clock this morning. Instead of 2, and that's all she'd had all day. Normally she can't stand up or be around up all day. She needs to go and have a rest, a bit of a lie down, because her back just can't handle it. Well, today we were up, she was dancing, we've gone to town, she's walked around, done some shopping, back out to the property, walked around, helped with some trees that we had to cut down so that I could get out of the property. That's another story in itself. And then when I left, she had no intention of going for a lie down. She had everything else she was going to go and do for the day, and was on her way about it. She's texted me since saying, I haven't stopped. Cannot believe how good this is. And that's after one night of having used this product. So we're going to wait and see what else happens. And I've got to say, I'm very encouraged by her testimony, and I know the testimony of a couple of other people who have had a similar experience, their pain in different ways. I've actually used this product myself on my knees, or for my knees and my lower back, and I've got to say, I was amazed, just amazed, because I had zero expectation, and I am a skeptic of some note. I had zero expectation, and just went in with an open mind, and cannot believe the difference it made to my knees, particularly. It helped everywhere, but staggering, to a point where I need some more. So that's the way I'm going to play it. But before I start talking about it with you and we get into the nitty-gritty of it, then I want to make sure that the sorts of things that happened to my friend Carol, who you will meet in the coming days, are happening to other people as well. I've just run out of the product to share at the moment. So rest assured, though, when I get back to Queensland, if you've got pain, you let me know. I'll be happy to try some of this with you and see what happens. I've got to say, on face value and on personal experience and on the testimony of what I've seen with Carol. Now, I've known Carol for 5 years. I had no real knowledge of the extent of her back problems, other than that she had back problems, until this past weekend. And the extent of damage that she's had is phenomenal. The pain that she's been living with for years is phenomenal. And the reaction to today, well, you'll see, is that same phenomenal. It is absolutely amazing. So, yeah, we'll get on to talking about that. Now, what else was I? There you go. Underbelly Razor was all about, yes, the Madams of Sydney. I think Squizzy Taylor might have popped in. Well, maybe he didn't. Maybe it was a different thing. Those Underbelly shows were pretty good, weren't they? So, yeah, I believe there have been brothels in Queensland for more than 40 years too, in many, many places. But the fact is they've been operating illegally or unlawfully or under the radar. For many years on the Gold Coast, if you wanted the services of a lady of the night, I think you had to travel to Tweed Heads over the border. And there was an industrial estate down there somewhere that had a number of them from memory. There was also a number of motorcycle clubs, sort of, usually one parked beside each brothel. That obviously would be a problem under current Queensland laws. But no, Plucker and her mates in the government there aren't going to worry about that. They'll make all that fine. So you can expect pimps back on running street girls on any street. Any kind of premises can be a brothel, and you as an owner of that premise have absolutely no say in what happens inside it, particularly if you've got them in as renters and they're just making their rent every week by banging the doors a bit, trying to be polite. So, yeah, no, George, I'm not talking about the magic wand. While that is exceptionally good, and in fact, now that you've reminded me, it's right up there, and I'm going to use it on my knee tonight. Now this is something different, and I'm because of what it claims it stimulates and how it claims to stimulate it. I'm just doing a bit more research on it myself, but on physical, actual trying the product, I've spoken to 4 people who've used it, including Carol now, and she's the only one I've videotaped, and the reactions are pretty much similar. They've all got different sorts of pains and different reasons. Some are hips, some are arms, necks. Frozen shoulder was one of them. Frozen shoulder's working again overnight. Might be able to get those testimonies for you too, just to show you. But yeah, I don't. For me, it's not about selling product. I'm not into selling you stuff. You can tell by the huge range of merchandise we offer. But when it comes to sponsoring and getting this radio station up and going and getting the Freedom Broadcasting Network actually happening, then we do need sponsors, and we do need money out of that. And if these sponsors come along and want to offer us some money, then I want to make sure that the products we are advertising are good, and that they say what they're going to do and do what they say, do what they're going to say. So all I'm saying is that this one that we're evaluating right now is certainly standing up to everything it's said in the literature, and I would go so far as to say excelling at it. So, yeah, pretty wild. All right, so I've got a text here. Somebody's asking me whereabouts and when over the next few weeks. Okay, so here is the plan as it currently stands. Now, this will change because things are very fluid with what I'm doing, and I'm trying to fit in with a mechanic in Melbourne, a mobile mechanic who can come and give me a bit of aid with our LPG gas system, and we might be able to get that up and running again with a bit of luck. So aiming to be back in Melbourne by tomorrow night at some stage, or very early Wednesday morning, hooking up with this LPG guy who will probably come and have a look and a fiddle and see what he can do, then probably have to go away and come back the next day and fix it. That being the case, it'll be Thursday, and I'll need to be somewhere out, I think, in the western suburbs for him, but it might not be. It might be somewhere else. The idea was to catch up with everybody again on Saturday. Now, I'm going to try and figure out how to live stream from the event on Saturday. So that will be at the Shrine of Remembrance in Melbourne at 11 a.m. Be there before 11 a.m. Be there 10 a.m. Now, this isn't an Anzac Day style event where, there are going to be 100,000 people. This is just a Remembrance Day event where we remember those who sacrificed their lives for us in World War I. On the 11th hour of the 11th day, the armistice was signed. So we lost over 60,000 troops in that war, the war that was to end all wars. And then a few years later, we're back at it again with World War II. So looks like we're back at it again right now, and it won't be long before into World War III, or what potentially could become World War III. I think we're probably in the midst of. So if you can come to Melbourne and you want to catch up, love to. But that would be after the service and after the remembrance part, the formal ceremony. Darren Bergwerf is coming. I know, quite a few people are coming. Tim Dwyer is coming. Vince, are you coming? I'll look in the chat to see if you're catching a ride over with the Dwyers, because I know your car has been having a few problems, buddy. I hope that's got back on the road. But we'd love to see you in Melbourne, not least of all because you can bring your multimeter. There's a few questions I'd like you to answer. But you're not coming? Oh, bugger. Well, there you go. They do have a big back seat, the Dwyers. You could, just sit in the back. You'd fit. Just saying. You could say, are we there yet for 5 hours? Wouldn't that be fun? Be like living old times. Haven't we all heard that? Will the RSL be okay? They complained about COVID protesters. We don't really care about what the RSL is saying. A bunch of Freemasons. So, no, I wouldn't be too concerned about that. We're going to pay our respects. Now, if you're going to come along and bring a flag, and whether that be a red flag or a blue flag, then please keep that flag tightly furled until after the ceremony. It's not a day for talking about flags and fighting over common laws and, maritime law versus law of the land and, whether you're a man standing on it or you've got your floaties on and you're out at sea. It's not that sort of a day. And I would hope that people would respect and honour the memory of those who've fallen and attend in the manner that you would expect on such a serious day of remembrance for Australia. Get a red poppy, but don't get one from the Bendigo RSL that has a bloody gay flower attached to it or a gay petal attached to it. Have you seen that? If you haven't, I'm not sure if the Bendigo RSL are still selling them. They'll probably tell you that they've sold out. That might be because they're too embarrassed to keep selling them, because I believe there was quite a concerted campaign of phone calls and emails saying, get that shit out. How dare you take over the poppy and reconstitute it for this kind of bullshit? So hopefully that is actually over with, but if not, keep ringing. You made a boo-boo. Sean. All right, I'll have to go and have another look back for that, mate. Cool. I'm just having a bit of a glance here to see if there are any questions. I haven't said hello, Sunflower. Hello, Sunflower, you gorgeous thing. I hope things are going well. I'll be warming up where you are. Hello, Maria. George is in the house. I think I said hello. Hello, Marianne. Paul was first in the house tonight. That's awesome. Siva. Yes. Yeah, Siva, you're onto it. Well, there may, along those lines, let's just say. But I'm just trying to figure it all out, and as soon as I have, we will sort that out. Harry, what do you got here, Harm? You've got a few multimeters. Have you got any knowledge on how to use them, mate? If that's the case, I might have a friend who's got a friend who might knows where you live. Just saying. Yeah, that could be good. Lindy, no, not in Geelong now, but I'm thinking about being in Geelong at some stage tomorrow. It really is a choice of which way I go. I'm having breakfast with family tomorrow, and I probably won't leave until, sometime I'd imagine between 10 and 12. Might even be, no, it won't be after that. So it really depends which way I want to go. Back through Mortlake, and I can come in back around past the old cement factory if it's still there, and into Geelong that way, and come out around Nor Lane. I don't think I'd remember the back way down to past the Nor Lane swimming pool, but there might be a foreshore somewhere there along Geelong I could pull up in a few car parks for the night. So yes, that is an option. I also have a couple of very dear friends who live in the Bacchus Marsh and Melton areas. I'm a bit nervous to go back to Bacchus Marsh. Don't want to blow anything up. But I may head back through there, or I may stay in Melton. It really does depend on what happens with the guy that needs to fix the mixer in the airbox here. So once I've got that nailed, I'm not allowed to ring him until Wednesday morning. So I just want to be close. If I'm in Geelong, then I can make it to wherever in the West he wants to be at a reasonable time. That'll all work out. So if I am going to be in Geelong, I will do a live during the day on these channels you're watching now to say that I am going to be in Geelong. And somewhere along the foreshore where 14 metres of this can pull up will be about where you'll find me. Unless you've got a great idea now and you want to send me a pin. I do have some friends in Geelong, although I've discovered that one of them has now moved, and I've driven through the town they moved to 3 times now and not known it. And I won't be driving back through it again, at least not this trip. Bit of a bummer. Anyway, them's the breaks. It's what happens. Phil, good to have you in, mate. Hope things go well and you are staying warm in your part of the world. It's been a beautiful day, I've got to say, and warm for a change, still in a T-shirt. Didn't have to have the heater on last night. So hopefully that stays around for another day or two, although I'm led to believe that there is more wet and wild, windy weather coming our way tomorrow. Won't that be great for the Melbourne Cup? I don't care. The what? The who? Four-legged what's doing it? I wouldn't know what end of a horse to bet on, wouldn't know how to put a bet on in a TAB, and I find TAB sports bet and all that sort of stuff just the easiest way for them to take more money off you. It's rich man's sport. And why do the rich men play it? Well, because they get to learn about breeding. Okay? They get to learn about breeding. They get to learn about how you breed certain traits out and how you breed for stronger other traits. Where else do you think some of these very rich people, these elite people involved in horse racing? You remember old Lizard Beth? She loved her horses. What about the Saudi kings? What about this Japanese mob that have just taken out one of the races over the weekend, a big rich one? I don't know what happened. There's a few in the lead up to the Melbourne Cup. Is the Caulfield Cup one of those? And I think there was another one, Derby Day, the Victoria Derby. I think that was Saturday. Who cares? I don't. There's another one in Sydney that they do too. It's just a distraction, folks, and it's the rich men's way of figuring out bloodlines, how to do breeding, and then they do similar things with their own family or their own cabal. So, bear that in mind. The little people who like to go along and think they're playing the rich man's sport and winning, 99 times out of 100 losing more than they're winning. But it is that endorphin rush that they've engineered so brilliantly with betting and gambling that these people are addicted to. I saw it so much when I was working in the casino and RSL clubs. The casino particularly, RSL clubs on a more personal level, because you get to know those people that come in every day. You smile and acknowledge them as you open the doors at 10 o'clock and they walk in straight away and put $100 into their favourite machine. And half an hour later, it's all gone. They're walking out. They come back a couple of hours later, have another go. Then there's ones that just turn up every night with $500, and sometimes they walk home with more than $500, and more nights than not, they walk home with nothing. I am just not a pokey player. It's all just a distraction. It's mind-numbing. You've got no idea if you don't play pokies much. There's people that do, and they sit there, and those rolls keep spinning, those digital rolls, and the music. The reason they have music and lights flashing like that is they are fucking hypnotizing you. Okay? That is what they are doing. And then they put suggestion in. And sadly, I can prove this because I came up with an idea to take advantage of it, not really knowing that that's what I was doing at the time. But I came up with a dedicated in-house radio system for pokey rooms, your pokey room if you were a club or a pub. And we took a in 1 month, I took a pokey room that was turning over off 42 poker machines. It was turning over, it was profiting a bit over $600,000 a month. I beg your pardon, a week. No, month. I'll get it right. 42 machines, profit of $600,000 over a month. Over the course of the 1 month where I ran this in-house radio thing, I actually ran it for more than 1 month, but the first one that kicked it off, we increased their pokey take to over $1 million a month. And by the time I finished doing it, which was 8 or 9 weeks later, their pokey take had gone to just under $1.4 million a month. Now, that was all done with the lights flashing and the music off the machines playing and a message inserted every 2 or 3 songs that were played. A message that, basically said, if you won $5 on the machines, come over to the bar, you won a prize. And it was shocking to watch. I've never done it again because I just don't believe that in that sort of thing. And I've seen it happen with a family member. I had a family member who worked very, very hard, very, very hard. And the business made multiple millions of dollars. When they sold the business, the partners of it split that all evenly. They all walked out with a bit over $1 million each, tax paid. This family member spent $100,000 on a house upgrade, bought a $150,000 boat, bought a $200,000 car to pull it. Oh, no, I tell a lie. Bought a $100,000 car to pull it, and I bought another $80,000 car for the missus, as you would. And went on a round-the-world trip for 3 months, first class, everywhere. And then came back and used to brag about going out to the casino or to their local club or pub, and both of them would have at least $1,000 in their pocket to play the pokers with. And they would go out every night. So consequently, 4 years later, 4.5 years later, nothing. Did their son get to go to a school, a good school, a special school, or, get put on a path to... No, he got to get whatever Xbox or PlayStation game he wanted and got to spend as much time as he wanted in front of the TV playing them. He became very, very good. In fact, these days, I wouldn't be at all surprised to learn that he's probably making money out of how good he was playing the video games. But it's just programming. It is just programming. And be careful about playing things like, what was the American Army thing? There was a sim that you could play online that was essentially America. I think it was called America's Army. And it was a training tool used to identify people who are very good shooters, very good strategists, very good at hiding, very good at doing whatever. And if you were any good at it, you got to knock on the door and say, would you like to come and join the military? It also managed to identify everybody who thinks they can do that through the system. And now there's a government database somewhere with everybody's name on it who played, and a level assessment of their skills should they actually have to go out into the real world with a gun. Interesting how they get all that. Databases, wonderful things, aren't they? Yeah, responsible service of gaming, Jono, absolute shit. The only time that comes into it is when you become louder than the machine, and that's usually after you've not got much more money to throw in the machine and you've got one more beer in you, or would like to get one more beer in you. And they'll assess how long you've been there, how much you've put into the machine, whether you're a regular or not. If you're a regular, they'll give you a lot more leeway. And depending on how much you punch through the machine, they'll really look after you. For instance, I'll give you an example. I know a person on the Gold Coast who spends so much on the pokies that when the casino up there built a new area called the Darling, which is their high rollers rooms and high roller apartments. And if you know Broadbeach at all, the Darling is the building on the main road there at Broadbeach, right out in front of the casino, big white building. Well, they built this lady her own high rollers room. In that room, they put her 3 favourite machines, and those 3 machines were the first poker machines in Australia that took $100 notes. Okay? They made sure that she was the first to get them. There was a coffee machine, not just any old coffee machine, but a full coffee bar there. Chocolate, $10,000 golden toilet, her own golden toilet. Nobody else gets access. Her room, completely her room. And somebody stands there with her to serve her whatever she wants at whatever time she wants it while she is playing. Now, lovely lady, lovely lady, and worked very hard for her money. She and her husband had a magnificent business. They did very, very well out of it. And when they sold and retired, they go and enjoy their money in different ways. She likes to play the pokies. And she's pretty bloody good at it, can I just tell you. But she plays the pokies to the tune of, see how I'm feeling, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a night. She plays the pokies so much that other casinos fly her to their casinos and front her money to go and play out with the people, and they'll see her throwing huge amounts of money through and winning, and that gets others involved. They'll up their spend. There's a real science into how they trick you about it. One of those instances, she was brought down to a casino. Well, let's just say down south, and she was given $50,000 for the weekend to play. She was put up in a high roller suite, didn't have to pay for anything all weekend. She didn't really feel like playing. She, went to Melbourne, had a nice weekend, saw a show, did a few things, played a bit, but came home with close to $30,000. And she took that to another casino and spent that there the first night back. Swings and roundabouts. She also has big wins, but doesn't tell you about those. So if you can afford to go and play them, and you've got enough money to afford to be able to go and lose, then all well and good. But you must understand that the casinos are there to make money, and they will always make money. The same with the poker machines. They will always make money. They are designed to make you lose. So don't do it. All right? Stop it. I think stop it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Not covering my mouth. I'm getting that wrong. What's going on here? Harvey said Australia is not safe to him to return to, so he's going to the UK. Why? Why would Australia not be safe to him to return to? Certainly not because of us. Maybe because of that imam. I'm not sure. Something to think about. Paul, what are you saying here? Maria Puza. Mario Puza, who wrote The Godfather, wrote a great book on Las Vegas, telling all the stories. My God, some of the stories out of Vegas. Well, Vegas was built on, not just sand, a lot of blood, quite a few bones. And I think there were a lot of people that spoke like this that came from out east who wound up setting up casinos. Thankfully, I think most of those have been knocked down. The old ones, Flamingo and all those sorts of clubs are gone these days. I don't know where the gangsters are. And I haven't been to Vegas. Don't think I'm going to get an invite to Vegas. So if they're in Vegas these days, I'm not likely to meet up with them. Rest assured, though, if I were to meet up with them, I would not be one of those dickheads on the road who tried to bump into them.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!